get to know you and your policy positions a bit better ahead of the election and the endorsement. So, first, I would like to introduce,
here after this meeting, if 20 years ago, around 20 years ago, we didn't make boldly and reform this county, create this job of county executive and bring home rule to Allegheny County. I like that. It took vision. It took the determination to act on the vision, and I think that's what I bring to the table in this race. I'm not going to tell you a lot about my background. You can look at that on the website. You already heard me speak and know my. But I bring that to the table. You know, the idea of anyone can bring a good idea, anyone can see a problem. Is that not only see that problem, I've solved those problems. I've enacted those visions. I made those visions a reality. And that's what I did. That's what I've done for the last 15 years as city controller. We work hard in the city to bring a new level of transparency and accountability to the city. And those tools are part of what I'm going to bring to Allegheny County. But really, it's about seeing those problems, being able to deal with those problems, and bringing them to reality. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you about have this conversation about Allegheny County. I'm excited to talk to you about my plans to build a better Allegheny County. And I'm getting my house side, so I'll stop talking. But thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm State Representative Sara, and I'm running to your next county executive. This is a very exciting opportunity that each and every one of you have. Because for the first time in 12 years, you're going to select who leads us through potentially the next 12 years. And I want to share a little bit about the vision I have for this country. I believe that we should have a company where everyone can stay stable and affordable place to call home, where we have the infrastructure necessary to deliver mental health and addiction services, and that the jobs we bring here are good paying, family sustaining jobs. And I focus on those 3 points because I know what it's like to struggle and not have those. I'm in North Hills High School. And even living in this well-resourced community, I lost my father in the opioid epidemic. And with him, lost my home and lost our financial stability. And I know that is my story, but it is not unique. There are people throughout this county that are left behind. And it is our duty as elected officials to make sure none of our neighbors struggle that way. And as the representative, I'm already doing the job to connect the pieces to make sure no one else falls through the cracks. Every day I serve my constituents, I connect them with resources. Every day I meet with municipalities, bring them resources to prepare their infrastructure. Every day I fight in Harrisburg for progressive democratic values and pass pragmatic legislation. That is what I'm going to bring to the role of county executive. And I also know I can't do it alone. I hope that you will join us, and you can find out more at SaraForAll.com.
Good evening, all. My name is Olivia Bennett. I go by Liv. I am the sitting county councilwoman for the 13th district of Allegheny County. That loosely is going through the city over to Stanton Heights. And as a city county councilor, I have done numerous legislation, so I do not get big staff in this county. I got 5 major pieces of legislation done as a county council. My platform for county executive is really based around equity. As we have seen time and time again, reports coming that say that we are very inequitable in our region. And so I think equitable, working around equitability allows us to do things intersectionally. So we have inequities in housing, in transportation access, in healthcare access, in environmental justice, in the jail, in juvenile detention, in education. So when we're talking equity and really resourcing folks equitably across our region, I think that is the role of the county executive to help make sure that the resources are equitably distributed across the region. And so that is really my vision for this county, and I hope that you will join me. You can find more about me at votelive.com, and thank you for having me this evening.
Good evening, everybody. I am Erin McClelland, and I am running to be your next county executive. For the past 8 years, I have been a county employee. I have seen it from the inside. I've stood there and watched as politicians and party despots have characterized our work incorrectly. I started out working at Pitt, working on drug and alcohol addiction, got my master's degree from Chatham, went on and spent 18 years counseling in the substance abuse treatment industry in Western Pennsylvania during the height of the opioid crisis. I got the great privilege of working with U.S. Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill on medical errors, systemic reforms, failing systems, which was his expertise. I got to serve as an opiate expert, the Office of National Drug Control Policy in the White House, talking about Pennsylvania and Western Pennsylvania as one of the worst opiate addiction sites in the country. In 2008, I started the state's first and only orthomolecular medical center for addiction treatment. It was featured twice in Industrial Engineering magazine as a state-of-the-art process improvement approach to addiction. In 2015, I sat down with Treasury Secretary O'Neill and County Executive Rich Fitzgerald. And we told him, you're killing people. You are paying more in workers' comp than Alcoa did with 150,000 employees because you hurt people. That's what we do. And we tried to convince him to stop doing that. He didn't buy it. 2015, the Department of Human Services hired me to come in and address the same issue. For the past 8 years, I have been watching the most harm-ridden environment I've ever seen, which is costing you money, it's costing us services, and it is working against us. I'm here to solve that problem. Thank you.
You burned it up.
To the ground, baby.
Hey everyone, I'm Dave Fossett, running for county executive. I'm a lifelong Pittsburgher. I'm a lawyer, and I was a two-term member of the county council. As a lawyer, I've had a good balance of work. I've taken on some of the biggest corporations in the world in business litigation, and I've also done a ton of work pro bono for free for less privileged people in the area of criminal justice. So I've been a fighter when I have to. As a member of the county council, we started up the council. We got a lot of things done in those days, and I'm a doer. We got along and got things done. To me, when I look at this race, I think what we really want in a county executive is a couple things. First, we want somebody that can really handle the day-to-day things that occur. Secondly, somebody that can handle the big events that might come along, like the Hurricane Ivan, if you remember, or with Rich Fitzgerald, COVID. And then I think thirdly, we want someone who isn't just a career politician or spent their lives in government, but has good experience and qualification to have a vision and to have a plan to make it happen and to be able to do it. And for me, my vision is we need to raise the profile of this city in this region to grow jobs. And it's just not talk from a politician. We have real plans. Number one, we should be an innovation hub here. I know all about the robotics community, the high-tech community, and what they need. We are exporting our innovations right now, when should keep them here and manufacture here, so we can get jobs here. Second, we should be, this area, given our natural beauty, our rivers, our green hills, we should be a beacon of sustainability recognized world round. When I was on the county council, I called for the creation of a countywide riverfront park, a great transformative idea, as one of the ideas I stand for. So this campaign is going to be all about ideas, the big ideas, and ideas that can get done. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. Look forward to talking.
Thank you. Yeah, keep on to it. You could give it to Sara. She's gonna start the first one.
What are we doing? 2 minutes?
We have 2 minutes for everyone to answer questions, and this battery might be going.
Sorry.
Okay, so the question for all of you is, what do you believe are the most pressing issues facing Allegheny County right now? And how, as Allegheny County executive, would you address them? We're starting with Sara.
I think we have an ever widening gap between the have and have-nots. And I want to use housing as a platform to close that gap, because it is a vital resource that everybody needs. So as county executive, I want to create a housing first plan. And that's going to address everything from our homelessness crisis to ensuring that seniors can age in place in their home or in their community, and everything in between. So we're looking at how do we create a fair and equitable property assessment system. We have to look at how we can develop homes and multi-use buildings around our transit corridors, and how we can deploy the whole home repair program. The whole home repair program was something that I passed in this last legislative cycle, where I secured $125 million that will provide grants for homeowners to repair their home, for people with disabilities to be able to adapt their homes, and for parents with young children to be able to remove health hazards like lead and mold. And right now we are working on deploying that program throughout the county. And in order to do that, we are building coalitions of people, of businesses, of nonprofits, of county government leaders, in order to make sure that we are reaching every corner of this county in an equitable and accessible way.
We're just going to keep going.
So for me, I think that the pressing issues in our county again are based around equity. And I would say incarceration, how our incarcerated population has been treated. We have way too many deaths in our Allegheny County Jail. And that needs to be held accountable. Those lives are under our jurisdiction, and so we should care for them. Secondly, I believe that we should be leveraging the money from DHS to help with the gun violence that we're experiencing. DHS has committed $50 million to addressing gun violence in our region, and I think we should leverage those dollars and make sure that those are being allocated in a way that is really going to address the gun violence that we're experiencing in many of our communities. I think air quality is a thing that urgent need in our county, as we know that we are one of the worst in the county. I was talking to somebody earlier and we're sharing that I know people who have moved here who have now experienced lung issues, have asthma, different chronic issues that they didn't have before they came here because of the air quality. And so people are leaving or won't even come here because of the air quality. And the same thing about equity issues. If we don't continue to become a more equitable region, we're losing folks in our region because of the way that we are not inclusive in our region. So all of those things, I don't think there's just one issue. I think there's many issues that are pressing for the next county executive, and those are just a few.
Thanks, Liz. So, coming from the inside, I feel like I go to work every day and I'm inside this great big house with $1 billion budget at DHS. And I see everybody around me coming up with all these ideas. Maybe it's a mahogany dining table, maybe it's a chandelier. But when I look inside, I say, there's no floor. You don't have a floor. You have a workforce that is completely compromised. You have CYF caseworkers overburdened. You have people calling 911 right now and being put on hold. All the visions in the world don't matter. If you are in distress and you call 911 and somebody can't pick up the phone, that's where we're at. And by the way, that problem isn't just here in Allegheny County. Schumann Center wasn't just shut down here. A Delaware County juvenile justice facility was padlocked as well. Staffing. Problems in CYF in Philadelphia. 300 kids living in a boardroom. Staffing. You don't have the staff. Everybody wants good air quality. Look at the air quality program in DOH. It's funded by the fees and fines. Well, if you want to do air quality, it takes a worker to go do that. We don't have the workers. Unless somebody running for council to start climbing for smokestacks. We need to solve our workforce problem. The number one issue that's causing that is the civil service system. Our state legislature has turned our back on that. They have not updated it since the 70s. It is failing us. We need to pull our entire workforce out, make Allegheny County a beacon of workers, and actually start to fuel our workforce so we can give the taxpayers what they deserve, the services they need, and from that, we will have a floor, and then we can build.
I agree with Sarah, we have issues with have months for sure. I agree with Liz, that criminal justice is a big issue. From my standpoint, we want to address the crime and criminal justice issues first. We want criminal justice reform. How do we do it? I've worked on cases with the Innocence Project. These are people who have been sent to life in prison for crimes they didn't commit. In that context, I've learned about the bad apples in government. I know what things have to be done. We had to create a conviction integrity unit, like they did in Baltimore and Philadelphia. We have to up the resources for our public defender and for our district attorney. But the criminal justice issues also relate to crime all over the circle. The jail, what we're doing right now is cycling addicts and people with mental issues to the jail. And that shouldn't be. And Schumann Center is closed. That shouldn't be. We need to open those facilities, and also in our jail. I took on the jail in the county on behalf of the ACLU for this their improper treatment of inmates. So they were putting pregnant females inmates in so they were not providing them with proper nutrition and other health amendments. So we but considering the county resolved it. But listen, all those things are criminal justice. The number one goal here is actually there's two people goals is safe and, as we stated, addressing gun violence. And gun violence is in the city, it's county-wide. So one of the very first things I would do, the first thing on the first day in office is roll out a plan that would stem the topic of gun violence. And again, a lot of politicians can talk about it, but who's going to do it? Who's going to bring the people to the chair to make it happen? So those are the pressing problems and things we have, and that's the way we address it.
Thank you very much for that. I will tell you that every problem that you just heard is made worse by this fractional system of government we have. These 130 municipalities hold it back, make us less competitive. It stops it slows our response on issues of criminal justice. It slows our response with respect to our social service response. It mainly affects our economic development and housing and the issues around those issues. Every one of those issues is made more difficult and harder to achieve success because of these 130 municipalities. My idea is to create an office of municipal assistance. where we're going to be working every day with our municipal partners on delivering service better to our constituents, to our citizens. And whether that be around infrastructure, and my idea to create an infrastructure bank, so that we can actually build out the infrastructure that our communities need, that when we do affordable housing, that it's connected to transit, that within those communities there are green spaces, that there's adequate infrastructure to really improve the quality of life of people in our communities. That's what I'm aiming to do. You know, this idea of all these little towns and townships are working on their own, we've got to rethink that. It's true for public safety. It's true certainly with respect to our fire companies and the fire response. We don't have volunteer firemen anymore, enough of them to deal with what can be really significant, serious problems. And our emergency response needs to be better than it is. The same could be true with respect to the multitude of police departments that we have out there. Many of them who can't make it, they don't have the resources. We don't know if their officers are being properly trained. We know a lot of them aren't being properly paid. We've got to get smarter about working together, and the county executive, or the entity and the individual who can really facilitate that conversation for this county.
Thank you all so much. I wanted to ask now, for the district county executive, what unique experiences and skill sets do you possess that makes you the best candidate for county executive? We'll start with that.
It's not just because I had the mic. So for me, I have a skill set of connecting and building coalitions, and really having a grassroots connection to community. And I think that skill is really going to be great as the asset for someone to have as a county executive. I don't think that the county executive is a position that is a solo act. I don't think it's supposed to be a dictatorship, and so therefore, for me, having the experience of coalition building and community and grassroots organization connections, I believe we can really do have a lot of conversations about where the real needs of the county are, where are the needs of each municipality, and have that real connection to do the real work, to connect us as a county. As Mr. Lamb said, there's 130 municipalities in this county, and so how do we connect, be separate but also connected? And that's, for me, I think is where my skills come in, is helping to build that community and coalition building that's really going to be necessary in the next county executive. Also dealing with this large budget, that's also a skill set that is necessary. And so as obviously as a county council person, we also deal with the budget, but I've dealt with budget outside of county council in my everyday work. And I managed cemetery, and done budget there, and work in healthcare and cable and all types of things. So I think those experiences also will be an asset in the next county council, county executive.
Liz running two races. Okay, so I have obviously worked in this system, which gives me an inside view of it that nobody else has, which can be frustrating at times. In addition to that, I run a business that made a payroll that did not rely on public sector coffers. And I can tell you that there is nothing that tests the mettle of a human being more than knowing that you're coming to the 15th to the 30th and you can't pay your people. And it matters because it makes that dollar matter more when it's the taxpayers. In addition to that, I've done process improvement, leadership development, and systems like UPMC, Mercy Behavioral Health, Pyramid Healthcare. So I've worked across multiple systems. I ran a grant across 4 different states for the Institute of Research, Education, and Training and Addiction, and used the learning across those 4 states to actually give insight to the Office of National Drug Control Policy in the White House. My master's degree is in the psychology of complex adaptive systems, big systems, and how they perform in groups. That is why I now work for the county. I bring that expertise, all that insight, solving the biggest problems we have. The only thing I need is a county executive that's going to implement them. And that's what I wanna do. I wanna take all the great work I've done for 8 years, all that insight I have, working in big systems, working in both the private sector and the public sector, valuing a dollar and making it work for the taxpayers in a way that is efficient, effective, and respectful.
Thanks. I think the things that I've done, that qualify me or most important experiences are number one, being on the county council and learning about the county. But then honestly, this work that I've done as a lawyer, taking on big corporations and, being aggressive and persistent, and seeing things through, horizontally things in that regard. I think that would translate into what you need to do in this position, which is managerial, and also involves big players in big places with money and power. And I've taken truth to power, power to power. I took the case of the United States Supreme Court and won a big victory for all Americans in the campaign finance case. But let me give you one example of this. Our nonprofits, UPMC. What are we going to do with that? How are we going to solve the issue of getting the nonprofits to pitch in, their fair share? Well, we can be a voice of protest and complain about it, or we can come, bring them to the table and talk to them, and not just talk, be aggressive and push. That's what I've done for my whole career. And if people are unreasonable, you take it to the next step. But I think you've got to come in good faith, sit down with people who know the stakes, and do everything you possibly can to deliver. And that's what I've done. And in the criminal justice arena too, I'm telling you, we have big issues that need to be solved there. And I have the idea, for example, the conviction integrity unit. It has to happen. Someone has to push for it. They have to know about what should be done. And I do from my criminal law experience, and then they have to have the protective capabilities to get it.
So everything that I've done has led to a job like this. If you look at my experience and the expertise that I have, I have a master's degree in public management from Carnegie Mellon, my law degree from Duquesne. I've worked in all of the areas that are so critical to Allegheny County right now. In criminal justice, I've represented hundreds of indigent criminal defendants, including inmates at the jail, including juvenile offenders. So I've bumped up against the institutional racism that we see in our court system and around these issues, both in criminal justice and with Prosecutor jail and with students. So I've been very much involved around those issues. As a reformer, as I mentioned earlier, I led the effort in creating this job. And then I went on to the next reform, which was the merger of the row office. Even though it meant the elimination of the job that I was in at the time, it was the right thing to do for this county. And so I've been there to make those kind of hard decisions. As the city controller, we brought new levels of transparency, of accountability, of open government and accessibility to the people of the city of Pittsburgh. I know how to take something press conference to practice. We have a lot of people in town who are really good at the press conference. But I take it to practice. I've done the job. I've implemented change. I've done the work. I think I'm uniquely qualified to do this job because of that. And if you look at everything we've done, when I talk about these municipalities, creating organizations like Connect, the Congress of Neighboring Communities, city and all of its neighboring communities working for the first time together on issues important to the urban core of this region. Serving on the board of Three Rivers Wet Weather, dealing with these issues of stormwater overflows and the stormwater problems we have in all of the communities in the Alpha-San watershed. Bringing municipalities together, not just dictating to them, listening to them, letting their answers rise up, so that we can then deal with the issues. I think that's the job of the county executive, to recognize those and to facilitate those conversations.
So I really hate talking about myself, and I'd much rather be talking about policy, vision, and what my community has done to walk out for one another. But I'll tell you a little bit about what I've been doing for the last 15 years. I served in a leadership program at a global tech company. After I graduated that, I figured my services were best used to help my neighbors. So I went into nonprofit leadership. After doing that for a number of years and helping communities navigate bureaucracies to take ownership of vacant blighted land, I started my own business. And I helped government agencies, nonprofits, and socially minded businesses do strategic communication and policy work. And that led me to the role as state representative. And there's a reason why our lieutenant governor, our new congressperson, and the mayor of Pittsburgh all come from the state legislature. Because you have to know a lot about issues and impact everything from the tax code to air quality, Medicare, how to combat infant and maternal health, and everything in between. And I've been able to successfully navigate that and advocate for changes that improve the quality of life of people here in the county and across this Commonwealth. In my office, I've been able to work with municipalities across municipal lines to get things done. We have the world's first eco districts in my state house seat. We've actually leveraged Connect to deploy LEAD in my district. I am working every day to build coalitions to solve problems for people in this county. And that's what I'm going to do as county executive. Because again, no one up here is going to be the sole solution to our challenges. It is going to be who works together, who builds coalitions, and who has a vision for how to make a county that works for us all.
We have another question. You have a few minutes to reply to this. We'll be starting with Erin. What elements of the Allegheny County position would you keep the same? And which would you want to strengthen or change, and how?
So this is interesting because we hear Richard Fitzgerald, he does interviews and they ask him about the jail and things like that. And he often says, I'll see what the consultants say. He doesn't really have any information for you. And people get upset. Oh, he doesn't know what's going on. Why? Why is everybody upset that he doesn't know what's going on? He didn't run on that. He did not run on that. He ran on economic development. He ran on not raising taxes. He ran on that. He rained on that. He wants to be remembered for that. He still talks about that. His workforce is at 60%, but he didn't raise taxes. If you really want an operational executive that actually goes to work, puts their nose down and says, I'm gonna run this damn county and I'm gonna do a good job. I'm gonna do it transparently. I'm gonna do it efficiently. I'm gonna make sure we don't hurt people. If you want that, you have to vote for it. Up until this point, you've never had anybody run on running the county. That's why I'm here. Because if you want to talk about the actual operational problems that are happening in jail, Weinstein Center was closed down. I remember that day at work. That's a DHS program where I work. Children getting hurt. Josh Shapiro did a grand jury investigation into the Delaware County. Children being sexually harassed. Used to be that hurting children was a nonpartisan issue. We need to fix all of this. We need to build from scratch. You have a workforce that is at war with each other. You have people covering things up. We change the data and how we enter payroll every 3 months. So if you do a right to know, you won't actually get the information you need. And the guy that ran Sherman, well, after they shut that down, 4 days later, he had a ghost job at $121,000 a year as an executive or as a deputy director of CYF. It all needs to stop, but you need somebody on the inside to stop it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The question again is, what elements of the Allegheny County executive position would you keep the same, and which would you want to strengthen or change?
Okay. One thing I think we can do is further consolidation. In fact, I was on the council when we voted to consolidate the row offices. And now we can do further work in that regard. For example, the treasurer's office is an office that could be consolidated. That's really the tax collector. And that would be efficient, and that would make a lot of sense. And there's other parts of the county that we need to have loosened. And I'll give you one example. I think what we really need is a department of environmental enforcement to deal with two things. One is the fracking industry, and two is the air pollution. Now, I'm here to tell you, we have laws on the books that prevent the kind of pollution that we're all very worried about, but we need better enforcement. We need more people. And I think a priority of the county exec ought to be to create that department, sends a signal, yeah, we're actually going to enforce the law and do something about it. Finally, in terms of a big vision, one thing that has to happen. Do I have a 30 seconds?
You do.
Great. So I want to talk to you about what I just mentioned in the meeting with the county Riverfront Park. Another thing that I spearheaded, an idea that was passed that was transformative. I said that to support the matter of pulling back the rail lines and having a riverfront park that runs along one side or the other of every river with bridge connections and amenities along the way. Do you know, picture on the North Shore, you know, those are North Southern lines that go right by the Pittsburgh Water Authority and the Shaver Authority. Do you see what happened in East Palestine, Steam, whatever it is? Can that happen here? Would we allow that? So I would create a commission that we actually have the ordinance allowing a 5-person commission to enact, design, and construct that riverfront park, which would be great for economic development, great for lessening carbon footprint, sustainability, and keeping us safe. Thank you. Thank you.
So I've already talked to you about it. One area where Rich and I have those meetings. Today I announced my candidacy. I said that we needed new leadership in the jail, and I hold to that. But I think I think another area where we differ, and right, I like to talk about is economic. Because I look at economic development differently than most. I don't see economic development as subsidizing real estate for developers. That's not to be economic development. You know, the idea of finding a company somewhere outside of our region and enticing them here with tax breaks and money, that's not economic development to me. Think of Amazon, right? That's not economic development. To me, the money, the investment has to be here, has to be in our communities, has to help build our communities, provide the infrastructure, provide the affordable housing, making sure it's connected to transit, providing the job opportunities. You know, if we can do those things and create those kind of communities, that's what's going to really lead to having the kind of environment where businesses want to be here, where individuals want to live here. And part of that is what we announced today. Today, I made a very big announcement about the future of this county. We put forward a plan we call the Allegheny Achievers Plan. We are going to allow high school graduates here in Allegheny County to go to community college for free. Starting that program, we announced that program today. We've identified money. We're able to do it without raising taxes. Again, it's about investing in us. We got to invest in who we are. We got to create the community here that people want to be in, to want to live in, that want to locate jobs here, provide the workforce. We know that 60% of all jobs right now in Allegheny County, the vacancies right now, require a certificate and not a 4-year degree. We know we're meeting a need. We know we have a huge student loan crisis, and that's the way we're going to deal with it. Thank you.
When I was talking about housing earlier, I didn't get to frame out the severity of the issue. For every 100 people who need housing in low to moderate income, we only have 32 units available. 32 units out of 100 that are needed. So we need leadership in county economic development that's going to take housing on and be honest about what the challenges are and be able to coordinate across municipalities, because we do not have access to land use. That is a municipal initiative. But we do have a lot of power within the county exec's office to convene, to collaborate across agencies, to leverage money that exists with the Department of Human Services, and to work with our healthcare network to do housing first. We also invest a lot of public dollars into development initiatives that happen throughout this county that creates jobs. And we need to ensure that every job is a good paying, family sustaining job that works on those sites, but also the buildings we build are employed by people who are paid a family sustaining wage. And we can have a position at the county level that ensures enforcement of that, because your taxpayer dollars should go to creating family sustaining jobs. So, yes. Those are the things that, and with 30 seconds, we designed a new Office of Sustainability that passed in the last budget. Thank you. And there is so much potential in that, because when we look at sustainability, that should be something that's incorporated in each and every one of our agencies, so that we can build a green future and a green economy and address climate change from the ground up.
I'll go first, Stretch, as well. So one of the things I think that we're doing well-ish, is our elections. We have been a model for how we've been able to manage our mail-in ballots as well as our polling locations and have results fairly quickly compared to other regions in our state. However, I would also improve on that, right? In 2020, I don't know if you all participated, but we had satellite locations all throughout the county where we made voting more accessible for folks by using CCAC sites and other sites to do voting, to allow folks to vote outside of the normal election day, which sometimes folks are not able to vote on election day. They have to work and do other things. So that is my kind of twofold answer. Obviously, I do not agree with what's happening with the Allegheny County Jail. I would definitely take my seat on the Jail Oversight Board, which is something that Mr. Fitzgerald has not done. I also would be challenging and replacing leadership in the jail. Again, you can't have that many dozens of jail without a failure in leadership. And I think that we just need to address how we're treating our incarcerated population. And so finally, with my 30 seconds, sustainability. Yes, you're welcome for the sustainability committee. I just got off the phone off of the sustainability committee call right before I entered here, and we're working on things like doing doing the bag ban and things like that I think could be things that are led by the county and really partnered with the municipalities to try to do and make clean and a clean area and not polluted and
Thank you. We've been joined by our sixth candidate. I'll just, you got into the wire here. So the question was, what element of the Allegheny County executive position would you keep the same, and which would you want to strengthen or change, and how?
Thank you. I apologize for being late. My little girl got hurt and we had to take her to the doctor. So I do apologize. That's a great question. And I'm sure that my friends here answered that question. Part of the problem, I think, in county government, there are certain things that we do really well, and there are other things that we don't, clearly. And I give credit to county council and to Rich Fitzgerald for 12 years not raising taxes. Now I am the tax collector, so I know exactly what goes into all of that. And we didn't have to raise the taxes for 12 years. But what did go up was the overall assessment in Allegheny County. Over the last 12 years, it went up almost $2 billion. Property value of the whole county went up to almost $2 billion. So you shouldn't have to raise taxes if the assessment went up, because the value of the county went up $2 billion. But our assessment system is not working. As we know, went to court, this is a priority for me. People should have trust, 100% trust in this assessment system. This is definitely not working, and it's broken. Because the common level ratio was supposed to be 66% in 2020. It was 80%. So now what happens if you appeal your taxes and you win that, you have to get a refund. No municipality, no school district, nor the county has that money budgeted to refund the taxpayers. But everyone is entitled to that. That is a huge priority that we have to work with. There are many of them. Shooting Center, the jail, all of these issues that we're talking about. The Kane Hospital is a priority for me. Infrastructure is a priority. Safe roads and bridges, all of these things. And I may be getting off the topic of the question. And I apologize. So I just thought of that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna ask a question now, that outsourcing question, the number one thing that folks asked to be asked, was around, the environment. A lot of the stuff is already referenced, we had some accidents nearby. So the question starting with Dave is, environmental problems have always been an issue in Allegheny County. But what concerns are the most pressing to you, and how will you address them as Allegheny County?
So I'm all about the environment, sustainability, lessening carbon footprint, and raising the profile of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County to be world recognized as a green, great place to live. And the problems, of course, are you can't have that if you have air pollution and you have problems with wastewater coming out of fracking facilities and so on. But that's an administrative sort of day-to-day issue that I talked about at the beginning. The big issue is, what can we do to raise the profile? What can we of this area? What can we do to take advantage of our natural beauty, our natural advantages? You know, where I work, we have people that come in from all over the world, and there's not one person that doesn't come to our office from Europe or Asia that isn't blown away by our city and the natural advantages. And I just talked about this. What do we do with our rivers and our riverfronts? We have them as highways for rail freight trains, shipping oil from North Dakota to Norfolk News. And you know, it's trading. So it's what I talked about at the beginning of this evening. You want a county executive that can run the county and deal with those day-to-day issues. But to make this place a beacon of sustainability, you need big issues that are big ideas that are doable. And that is one. Land conservation, huge. We've got to conserve our green hills. We've got to watch land use across the county. We ought to be pushing energy, alternative energy. So that's solar and that's wind. And the county executive has a platform to do that, to talk about let's use it and let's manufacture it. That's the kind of thing that I would push.
Everyone's going to tell you that we're all for a better environment, and that's true. And I have probably out of all the people sitting here, I've actually worked on that when I was on Alphasan for 10 years. And it's not just about clean air, it's about clean water. And we put green initiatives into the entire wet weather plan that were mandated by the EPA to fix our rivers for the next 100 years, make them clean. I'm very proud of the work that we did there to initiate green infrastructure, green ideas into the wet weather plan for Alphasan. Now let's talk about the environment. I'm certainly a proponent of keeping our air as clean as possible. It's not even just the air outside, it's the air inside. If you look at a lot of the infrastructure in the buildings in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County, they're old. A lot of them have poor ventilation systems. So I'm proposing that we use a lot of the infrastructure money that President Biden and the federal government has allocated for infrastructure repair work. Because to me, it's not just about water lines, and sewer lines, bridges, and roads. It's also about air, inside and outside. So we could use that money and the resources from that money to clean up our air even more. And David's right. Over the past 12 years, the air quality has moved in the right direction in Western Pennsylvania and Allegheny County, but it has much more to go. And we have the resources to be able to do that with the help of the federal government. And we should take advantage of all those opportunities and clean our air outside and clean it inside.
So obviously, clean air, clean water, these are the priorities. What do you do about clean air? Well, you do what I've been doing for the last 15 years. You hold corporations accountable. We hold polluters accountable. We don't do that well enough in Allegheny County, and we have to do it. On the waterfront, I tell you, I think there's an issue out there that we're not talking enough about. We have a lot of utility companies backed by Wall Street money coming into all of our municipalities saying they want to buy your sewer system. I have fought those efforts in the city of Pittsburgh. I will fight those efforts in every community. We have a community in the South Hills right now that is actually doing this. And I will tell you that it is a bad deal for ratepayers. It's a bad deal for clean water. My feeling is that when it comes to water and sewer, we want those to be clean and safe and public. And so don't let your municipality tell you you want your sewer system, because all it's going to do is enable the utility to come in, immediately go into infrastructure improvements, raise your bills without going to the PUC, because they're allowed to do that. Don't let it happen. It's a major issue for us around water. Around here, again, it's about holding corporations and polluters accountable. I've been doing that for 15 years. Thanks.
So consistently, the American Lung Association ranks the Pittsburgh region as some of the worst air quality in the nation. That is a black cloud over our county, and it impacts our ability to attract businesses and retain people here as a good place to live, work, and raise a family. As a state representative, I have stood up to corporate bullies in the oil and gas company, and I've also brought back millions of dollars to preserve green space and build up parks and green infrastructure throughout my state house district and throughout the region. We have a real opportunity now more than ever, because of all the money that's available at the federal level, to bring that down to build up a new green sustainable economy. I would love for US Steel to be the greenest steel manufacturing facility in America. And we can do that. That technology is being trialed in Europe. We have a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and we have public investment that we can leverage to make sure that we are cleaning the air, that we're creating good paying union jobs, and that those investments are going into areas of the Mon Valley that have been left behind and have been harmed by this pollution for generations. And in order to do any of that, to build up municipal level initiatives and sustainability or draw down large federal dollars, we need to staff up the county. We need to make sure that the Department of Health, their air quality department is staffed, that it is a good job, that people want to be there and they can deliver on those services. We make sure we staff up the public health initiatives so that we are going into communities, again, that have been harmed by our poor air quality and water quality, and offer solutions for these people.
So I would also address you as Bill, because I think it was 2019 or so, maybe beginning of 2020, they held an open house where they said that they were going to do all this investment to make them more responsible and clean producer in the region. And then the pandemic came. And I guess the permits were slow, and so they retracted what they said that they were going to do. So I would bring them back to the table to revisit that, because I do believe that, we can't just eliminate that right off the bat. There's jobs there, there's a community there. So I would definitely start that conversation and see where we can go from there. And hopefully they would be agreeable to reinvest in that. I also believe, again, yes, we have individual responsibility when it comes to sustainability, but even us individually are not going to do things that we can do corporately if we're addressing our industries, like our hospitals and our jail and our other county facilities, where we can actually responsibly do our waste. So we had a conversation with the jail about composting. We are having conversations with Kane about composting. So giving options of responsible waste management is another way that I think that we can really address some of the sustainable goals in our region.
Not so good. So I'll just jump right to Claire, and I spent a lot of time with the steelworkers out there. January 17th, the US Steel, one of the big steel tycoons of this country, we've been fighting against them for 150 years. They filed a response, basically saying that they're not liable for the citation they got. Why? Yes. How we did the work. They're saying that the observations were not done to regulation. Remember, Department of Health responds to 12 different federal regulations. And it's very easy for Ms. Innamorato to say that we need to staff up, but how? You can stand up here and you can say that we need more, we need more, we need more case workers, we need more environmental engineers. But how? Where are you gonna get the money? If we aren't paying attention, we have nowhere near what we need to regulate this entire county, nowhere near. We need a solution for that. Until then, we're gonna keep slinging slingshots and Goliath in the Mon Valley doing a bad job because we are not taking care of our workforce. In the hills and the valleys, where I come from, I'm one of the two people on the stage, not from the city. I am tired of gas companies using my backyard as their toilet. The plumb injection site should have never been given a permit. And they are dumping their filthy water into a giant hole in the ground into a tourist space that's going into our rivers. We have in the valley where I live, the worst nuclear waste site in the country. It's featured twice in the Wall Street Journal. How often do you hear about that? Nuclear waste, a type that was never legally allowed to be produced in this country, but it was done here in the 1950s, and it is still causing cancer in the valley. There is so much we can do. There is so much more we need to dive into, but it can't just be one thing here. Air quality is one, but there is so much more. Don't forget the hills and the mountains.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, we're gonna do some very quick, rapid response to some other questions, and then we're gonna move to closing statements. And so we'll start with John, just pass the microphone down, tell me yes or no to these questions. All right, so first, do you think raises for county offices should have political contribution limits?
No.
Pass.
Absolutely, positively, yes.
With your raising?
Yes.
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 All right, we'll start with Michael. Would you, as a county executive, work to guarantee funding operational budgets on CCAC at 33%?
Yes, in fact, we announced, I just want to say, I'm allowed to say yes.
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 Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll start with Dave. Give it to John after you, and then we'll go to Erin. Do you think that the salary or the payment for county council should be considered to be increased?
Yes, it should be considered, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Minus, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then will you work as county executive to investigate and pass laws that would make nonprofits pay their fair share within the
Absolutely, yes.
100%.
Without a doubt.
Yes, and that's state law too, so it should happen in state legislature too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Excellent. We'll start with Erin. Would you work to have robust diversity, equity, and inclusion goals into county employment, including analysis?
Absolutely, I already do that in HR and DHS, so totally.
Definitely, yes.
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 Resounding yes.
Excellent. And then would you work towards and promote consolidation of municipal governments and programs starting with Sara?
Yes.
If desired, yes.
Yeah, as long as it's voluntary.
Yes.
Yes, voluntary.
Yes.
All right, we are gonna start moving into closing statements. Thank you all so much. Every candidate is gonna have 1 minute in order to carry out their closing statement. We're gonna start with John. Wait, yeah, it's all the way back down.
As
Do
you
whatever
wish.
like.
First of all, thank you for coming out tonight, and I want to clarify the answers to the questions like financial. I believe this is a state issue. The governor passes, and the state legislature passed laws for campaign finance reform. I certainly support that. But I am the treasurer of this great county, and I've been blessed to be elected 6 consecutive times in Allegheny County. I have more county government experience than all of my good friends behind me combined. I am the only candidate that could step into the office of the chief executive tomorrow and run and operate county government. I want to put my 25 years of experience of understanding the $3 billion budget, the 7,500 employees we have, and all of the county departments and the functions that we perform on a daily basis to the taxpayers and the residents of this county, to put all of that knowledge that I have gathered for all of these years to work immediately as a county executive. I don't need any on-the-job training. I can do this job, and I'm ready and able to do it, and I'm all in to do it. So thank you so much, and God bless you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
You all think?
We elect.
And thanks, I told you all at the beginning that I can be a fighter when I have to, and I've done that through my career, and I do think we want someone in this job that has that combination, someone who's proven over a career that they've taken on big corporations. This ship called Allegheny County is a big one. And, you know, when you talk about these issues with the jail, and you talk about air pollution, USC, UPMC, these are big corporations. And you can't just be a voice of protest. And you can't just really, it's I've been in government, I'm a career politician. You need to have a real world. I believe that I have to take it to them. And to pursue and be persistent. That's what I've done. So anyway, thanks for having us. Thanks for a great format tonight and getting everybody out, because we've got great candidates. You can see that. And just that you're here and you're involved and you're interested, it's fantastic. I think I'm speaking for all of us. We want people to learn about the candidates and make your choice. So thanks a lot. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Erin.
So in the 8 years that I've been working for Allegheny County, what I've noticed is a lot of the criticisms that everybody has about what's happening in jails and things like that, they're seeing them and they're identifying Rich Fitzgerald as the only problem. I assure you, in an infrastructure this big, it's not just Rich. And by the way, if it was just him, you wouldn't be seeing the same things in Delaware County and Philadelphia and Missouri County. We are experiencing a massive systemic problem. A lot of it is because of failures in the state legislature. And everybody is looking for solutions throughout the entire state. We have 52 counties that are pulling out of civil service already because it's failing us on workers. It's failing our ability to do our job. Allegheny County has a shot to be the beacon. To say, we're gonna make the difference, we're gonna figure out, we're gonna do it right. And we can show everybody how it's done well, and what Democrats do. And we can show everybody, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, Green to Luzerne, how this is done and do it well, and live up to what we truly are as Democrats.
Again, thank y'all for having us tonight. This is really great. These issues that I talk about touch me personally, so it gives me an urgency to solve them. I've been discriminated against. My children have been my child has been in labor and on the side and childbirth, and therefore, addressing maternal health is definitely one of those issues. And so these things I know people that are in the Allegheny County Jail who write me and want me to help them that are going on here. So these are not just issues to me, these are personal. And I think that it's personal to a lot of us. And therefore, let's come together to really make solutions that will drive for Allegheny County with the equity and inclusion that we all need to experience through our region. Thank you.
So this week I talked to a mother whose son is in Allegheny County Jail and can't get medical treatment. I've talked to parents who don't have out of school time options for their kids. I've talked to municipal leaders who are worried about making their budgets meet. I've talked to volunteer firefighters and EMTs and, just people every day that are struggling and that are worried and that they're concerned. And what we need is a county executive who understands what's going on in people's lives and how we can design systems and programs to make our quality of life better. And the truth is, everyone up here, no one has executive experience. The question you have to ask yourselves is, who do you trust? Who do you trust in this race who are going to put the right people in place and build the coalitions necessary so that we can move forward and build a county that works for all of us? Thank you.
Thank you very much for this. I hope you learned a lot about the candidates and their positions and their philosophies and their ideologies, but this job is about more than ideology and philosophy. This is about getting things done. This is about making decisions on your behalf. Most decisions you don't even know about. But every day, the county executive is faced with all these decisions, and you need someone in that job who takes in diverse opinions, who builds coalitions, who who understands these communities. When we're making decisions about communities, we want it from the residents. We're working on their behalf. That's what I've done through my entire career. My uncle, when I was growing up, my uncle was an old boxer. He used to talk about the light team down in the Hill District where we used to work out, and there was a sign above it. Upstairs was the library, downstairs was the gym, and the sign said, "I will study and prepare myself, and when I get my chance, I'll be ready." It meant the same thing to the fighters as it did to the scholars. And that's what I've done. I've studied, I've prepared myself for this job. I'm the kind of person that, again, takes in those diverse opinions, ready to make those decisions for the people of this community, with the residents and our citizens up first. Thank you very much. Thanks for doing this tonight. Appreciate it.
Sean Meloy, Erin McClelland, Bennett, and Dave Fossett. I'm gonna switch this mic. Remind you that the Allegheny County Democratic County endorsement is on the 5th of March. You will see, if you have not been hounded already, their petition to be signed, some of which for these candidates, if one of them intrigued you and you want to support them. Lastly, I want to thank everyone for showing up and to say that we did not get to cover everything in this forum. I think some people will be going to Manny's down on Route 8 to continue the conversation. And so feel free, they are open till 11 p.m. Thank you so very much, everybody.
Have a daughter. Okay.